Hello YouTube, how's it going? This is Mr. Harris, and this is Global Studies 9, Korea International School, Jeju. I changed the pitch a little bit there, mixing it up. I still have to figure out a better opening, I apologize. So we're finishing off Chapter 22, Section 1, and we're going to look at the human anatomy, medicine, and chemistry, as well as a quote by Isaac Newton. This is going to be a shorter video, which I'm sure no one is going to complain about, probably about 10 minutes long. So let's jump into it. So in the Middle Ages, the big issue with human anatomy and figuring out how the human body works was that people looked at pigs. Right? There's a physician called Galen, and he studied pigs and their anatomy and in order to figure out how the human body worked. And to a certain degree, this has success because pigs also have mouths and they've got intestines, and we share some things like that. But at the end of the day, the human body is not the same as pigs. And a breakthrough comes about around the scientific revolution when a man known as Andreas Vesalius figures out that, hey, let's stop looking at pigs. Why don't we just use human corpse, dissect them, and figure out more about the human body? And as a result, we can figure out more about organs, bones, and muscles, which can help us in various fields of science, as well as help make the human life a better thing by advancing our biology and medicine. Now, the next person I want to talk about, speaking of medicine, is Edward Jenner, who created the vaccine to prevent smallpox, which was incredibly deadly before this vaccine was created. So, interesting pattern Jenner noticed when he was studying smallpox was that cow maidens did not get smallpox, especially if they had been already infected by something known as cowpox. So he gets this idea, and he does an experiment. He actually purposefully inoculates people with the cowpox diseases and sees if they ever get smallpox. And his results showed that once you get cowpox, which is much less dangerous, you don't get smallpox. So he comes up with a vaccine using this cowpox, and as a result, he's able to make a vaccine for this deadly, or what was once a deadly killer, known as smallpox. So this story is elaborated in this TEDx video that you can find at tinyurl.com, OMSI3GZ. Tinyurl.com, OMSI3GZ. It's a TED Ed. It's a great little video. Please watch it. Thank you. Now, moving on to Robert Boyle, the founder of modern chemistry. His major contribution is Boyles Law, which is a law which explains how the volume, temperature, and pressure of gas affect each other. This is elaborated pretty well in this following video. I'm just going to show you the first 30 seconds. This is brought to you by Vizzy Science. It's Vizzy, not busy. Vizzy Science, and I strongly recommend for you to subscribe. So for a fixed amount of gas molecules at a constant level of temperature, if you decrease the amount of space it exists, the pressure overall increases. And that's the core of Boyle's Law. Now moving on to our quote of the day. "If I have seen farther than others," said Newton, "it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants." So this is Sir Isaac Newton attributing the various findings and discoveries he's made to people who's come about before him, to various scientists, various scholars who have come up with various theories which help become the fundamental, or the basic building blocks of the various discoveries made by Isaac Newton. So I want you to think about this quote, how it's cross-curricular, right? It's by a scientist, but this could apply in anything: art, physical education, math, right? We all build our knowledge based on previous knowledge, and we come up with new discoveries based on those building blocks. So I want you to think personally: whose shoulders have you stood on? What giants exist in your life so that you could see farther today? right? This could be even just being able to read in English class, right? At a certain point in your life, you weren't able to read, now you can. So who helped you be able to do this? And another concept I want you to ponder about is how this applies to the modern world we live in today. And I specifically looked at two people, which I thought I would share with you. The first is Elon Musk. And there was an interesting article about 8 books and authors that have influenced him. And these authors include people like Ben Franklin, who is a 18th century politician. Then we have guys like Nick Bostrom or J.E. Gordon, who are more heavily involved with the sciences. We have guys like Peter Thiel, Isaac Asimov, various guys who have influenced Elon Musk from different centuries, different jobs. He also credits Albert Einstein to a lot of his breakthroughs. So it's very interesting how different people can influence the same person in so many ways. All right, the other person I wanted to briefly talk about was Steve Jobs. And what makes Jobs especially unique is how he's been influenced by people, but he's also been influential towards others. So, for example, Jobs accredits Edwin H. Land as being one of his major inspirations. He was the co-founder of Polaroid's Corp. Steve Jobs goes on to say, "The man is like a national treasure. I don't understand why people like that can't be held up as models. This is the most incredible thing to be. Not an astronaut, not a football player, but this." Interestingly enough, as we all know, Jobs goes on to make quite a legacy out of his own life. And Jobs later on is often talked as being an inspiration by many, one of them being Mark Zuckerberg, who credits Steve Jobs as being actually one of his key inspirations towards his work. So, it's interesting to see how, we cycle. We help each other. We get inspired by each other. And, no one is on their own, right? Even guys who have gone on to make quite an empire, quite a difference, whether it's Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, right? No one does it alone. Everyone is standing on or is on the shoulders of a giant before them, which has helped them get to where they are today. All right, well, that just about concludes this video. I think I managed to keep it under 10 minutes. So I finished with this little page, copyright disclaimer under section 107, blah, 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 blah. Same stuff as usual, no copyright infringement intended. Have an excellent day. Goodbye.